this is a love fest because this is my opportunity to thank you for so many things and an ooh and ah at your talent. And I just spent the last week listening to Lush Life.
Oh, good.
So I think we should start there.
Sure.
It's been out for a couple weeks?
Couple weeks, yeah. Yeah. About 3 weeks.
Anyway, you can download it. You can buy the vinyl. You can do it any way you want. I think people should buy the vinyl.
That's the purest way to listen to this kind of music, yeah.
But just for how I got introduced to Lush Life was Victor, who has become a family friend, but he's drove Mary and me to work to Paramount for the last 2.5 months, and I've known him for years. And he knew, I think, that I had just found out that we were going to sit down together. So he downloaded it on his own and listened to it. And then on the way home the next night, he was saying, you've got to listen to this. He's a huge Frank Sinatra fan.
Yeah.
So, a purist.
And a singer himself, obviously, yeah. You talking about Victor Garber?
No. Sorry, my driver.
Oh, your driver.
Victor Gonzalez, who is the most astounding man I've ever met recently.
Yeah.
But he grew up listening to Frank Sinatra when he was 7 or 8, and his father would come in and go, don't you want to listen to pop? He went, nope, I want to listen to... Anyway, listen to it. And I'm just saying, somebody who worshiped Frank Sinatra loved you singing Frank Sinatra. Not just that you were bringing it back to life, but that how well you did it. Then Mary the next night going home listened to it. And I've been listening to it the last week or so. And it really is spectacular.
You're so kind. Yeah. I mean, it's sort of like fishing for the last, and they're good scraps, but fishing for the last scraps of, these great talents that Nelson Riddle and Don Costa and Billy May and these guys, these are undiscovered gems.
So for people who don't know the history of this, you found by working with Frank Sinatra Jr. and the Sinatra family, found these arrangements.
Yeah, Frank Jr. used to do Family Guy periodically, and he, when he became a friend of the show and when he passed away, the stewardship of all of these charts that his father had collected over the years, over the course of his career, fell to Tina Sinatra. And she has subsequently become a great friend as well. And she said, look, would you want to buy these things? And
did they come to you?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And I said, absolutely. Having no idea really what was in there. It was about 1,200 boxes worth of material. And luckily, they had their curator, Charlie Pignon, who has been with Sinatra Enterprises forever, and he kind of gave us sort of a cliff notes of exactly what was in these boxes. But really, the only way to know is to play the music. And so we hired an orchestra, same folks that play on the TV shows, and went over to the Fox lot, to the Newman stage, and just brought, what was recommended to us as the most likely candidates from these boxes by the curator, and just played them. And, from the first few notes of that first chart, it's like, it's something that's so familiar and so comfortable and so second nature musically, but yet is brand new.
Right.
It's like hearing, like never having heard I've Got You Under My Skin and hearing it for the first time in 2023 or whatever it was we did that first session. So it was kind of amazing.
Because you have an orchestra on, I don't know if it's on standby or what, that you can assemble for all of the background music.
Yeah. Well, they're studio players that play on everything from, Jurassic Park to, to Family Guy. I mean, it's all
freelance, and you put them together periodically.
Yeah. I mean, they're studio players that play scores for television and film, and those are the people we call.
And is it the same people that you would then tour with? Because I know you've toured all over the country,
as
the
much
world.
as we can. I mean, the LA players that when we can get them, the best of the best, are just fantastic. They're just some of the best around. And when we tour, we'll, if we play with the Boston Symphony or the Philadelphia Symphony or Houston or wherever, we'll bring a rhythm section. So we'll bring maybe a pianist, bassist, drummer, guitarist, and then maybe a lead trumpet player, a lead violinist. Right. And then the rest will be that local symphony. And there's some great symphonies. So it's you're singing with a 80, 90-piece ensemble is not too bad.
You grew up in Kent, Connecticut.
Yes.
You went to Kent School,
Yep.
not just for boys back when you got there, it was for boys and girls.
Yeah, there were two separate campuses.
Yeah.
But yeah, the dean of students was, when I was there, was your roommate, Don Gowan. Yeah.
Yeah.
He was a wonderful guy.
Yeah. Were you there second form through sixth form?
I was there all 4 years, yeah.
I was there 5 years.
You were there 5 years. What'd you do?
Oh man, it was scary when I was there.
You were there 5 years?
Yeah, you went there.
Yeah, it was a third form through sixth form.
Second when I got there.
Oh, so there was an extra form when you were there.
There were 5 years. Yeah.
Wow.
And you were not a joined school, boys and girls?
No.
The girls' school was still up the hill.
They bussed us back and forth.
Yeah.
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 But I was a day student because I lived in that town.
Right.
I grew up in that town. And so I had the, luxury of avoiding kind of the the Lord of the Flies side of boarding school, which I'm sure was just hell.
Oh man, it was scarier than crap. I was 13.
Yeah.
And they were 18-year-old hulking giants, the sixth formers, and it was very scary.
And they just kind of leave you to your own devices. I mean, I think now it's probably better.
Oh, much.
But when I was a kid and when you were a kid, it was like, no, you're on your own.
Yeah.
Like it'll toughen you up.
Yeah,
toughen you up.
It'll do something to you. I'm not sure all
twice your size. It's like, yeah.
Kent School for Boys makes men, and
it's like it's gentlemanly at a dance and valuable in a shipwreck.
Yeah. My friend and I, Dwayne Retta, I went on to Stanford with him, and he's this great friend. But anyway, he was an athlete, an amazing athlete. But we both realized it was not worth trying to date somebody up in the girls' school once a week at a movie or a dance. It was just like,
it was like 1955.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, it was.
Yeah.
It was 1955 and
just
scary.
Like you're dancing with the balloon between you that the chaperone. Yeah, it was just.
But let me go back a step further.
Yeah.
Because we're going to talk about Family Guy and American Dad, which I've been on thanks to you, and all of that side of your life. But how you started drawing family lore at 2, but at least at 5, you were like hired. No, you did your first flip book at 5, but at 9, you were hired to do a comic strip by a local newspaper.
Yeah. It was our local newspaper, which tells you how small the town is, the Kent Good Times Dispatch. That was the banner.
Yeah.
And they hired me to do like a 1-panel comic like once a week. And it was like, they paid me $5, which later went up to 10. And I was doing that from age 9 all the way up through, I think when I went off to college was when I stopped.
Okay, so how did you get there at 9? How do you have a sense of humor at all? I mean, what is that you could know what was funny or interesting enough to put it on paper? I mean,
it's, my family was very uncensored in a lot of ways.
More, what does that mean?
Yeah, I mean, my mother was there wasn't really any kind of humor that was off limits. I mean, like even I remember from the age of 4, her stubbing her toe and like, God fucking damn it, son of a fucking, it was just, there was no editing mechanism. And that extended into, the comedy that wafted throughout the house. And so, so I had some sense of, I mean, it was very undeveloped, but I had some sense of maybe what was funny and what was not. And I liked, the Far Side, and there were comic strips that I liked. So I was sort of aping certain things that at the time before I kind of found my own voice. But it was it was such a small town.
Yes.
I mean, there could have been more than 600 people at the time. And so everyone knew everybody else. And it was a very supportive town. And so it was very in character for Kent for them to say, yeah, let's give this kid a shot.
And did people find it funny? Did you get feedback?
Yeah.
Was it ever too far, Seth? Or
there was one week I got a letter from the local priest because I had done a comic.
Oh, I know.
Yes. Yeah. This is sort of I've told this story before. Where the comic, it was a guy at taking communion. Because when I was a kid and I was in a church choir and I went to, I wasn't like our family wasn't a religious family, but they felt that music was important. I was in the church choir and I would watch communion at the Episcopal church. And it was just so oddly fascinating to me. I couldn't figure it out. I was like, is that really, they're eating him?
Yeah,
Like, this is really the body of Christ. Like, they're eating, that's like, what?
Yes.
What? And I just couldn't get it through my head what exactly was going on up there. And I did this one panel comic strip at like 9 or 10 that said, there's a guy taking communion and he says, can I have fries with that?
Right.
And I got a letter from the local priest saying, shame on you for insulting the Almighty God. Yeah.
Oh dear.
Shame on you for insulting the Almighty God and those who love him.
Wow.
And I think maybe that was just an excuse to write to me. I don't know. But it was.
Was that? No, that wasn't. When you say you were in a choir and you were looking at chapel, that wasn't at Kent.
That was
was it?
That was pre-Kent.
Pre-Kent.
Yeah, that was the local
Episcopal church.
Yeah, that was St. Andrew's Episcopal Church.
Because we went to our share of chapel.
Oh yeah, 3 times a week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, woof. We were every day at 6, 7.
I feel like for everything I experienced, you had like the worst version.
Yeah. It was tough. It was also wonderful.
You had to go every day?
Yeah. Sunday was not early chapel. Sunday was I don't know.
So you had the full-on Dead Poets Society version of
pretty much. Incense on Sunday.
We had to go Tuesday and Thursday at 10 a.m. and then on Sunday we had to go for like a full service.
Yeah. No, we were every day.
God, every day?
Yeah.
What do they even talk about? How much Bible is there?
I don't know. I have no idea. I was just looking.
4 years?
I was just hoping
5 years in your case.
No hulking 18-year-old would turn around and look at me because he's pissed off. That's all I was worried about the whole time.
Yeah.
Okay, Kent School.
I somehow avoided that because I was assigned, for some reason, I was assigned to videotape the football games. So I was able to, like, the hulking like seniors were like, I was like their little buddy.
Yeah.
So I was the, yes sir, boss.
Yeah. But I got a good close up of you today, big fella.
Exactly. But I asked my dad about this recently because I don't know if you ever were up in the crow's nest at the football field.
Right.
At Kent. There was the wrestling room in the gym.
Right.
Had a crow's nest up top, and that's where you taped the football games from.
Oh, no, I didn't know that.
And so I just remember being handed this, 1980s camcorder in this big, heavy case.
Yeah.
And there's just a fucking ladder and this thing has to go up like 30 feet or however high it was. And maybe not quite 30 feet. To my memory now, it seems higher. But and I would walk in like all by myself and just climb this ladder.
With your one hand.
With my one hand. And I'm like, and I said to my father recently, like, how was that allowed?
Yeah.
What were you guys smoking that it took me forever. I would just climb and just acrophobic terror.
While you were filming, I was the guy because I hurt my knee playing basketball, which was my passion. Basketball was my passion. So and football, I was 6 foot and 120. So they knew that I would die. Yeah. If anyone ran into me by mistake, I would die. So, but you had to do something. You had to participate somehow. So I was the guy lining the fields with that chalk machine.
That was your job.
That was my job, as my big friends would go, ha, 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 and stomp all over the lines. And, that was me.
So you'd be lining up and they'd be like kicking all the...
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
I got to...
Well, they're not really your friends, it sounds like.
No. Well, they were. But I got to play basketball in the gym by myself. I could go practice basketball after I lined the fields.
Oh, that's cool.
So there was
So you got good at it.
It was transactional.
Yeah. It was transactional. It's a beautiful campus.
Are you glad you went to Kent School? Is it a plus?
I am.
Me too.
It was a phenomenal education. Yep. I mean, a phenomenal, the teachers I had stick with me to this day. Was Bill Armstrong there? Bill Armstrong, yeah.
Bill, who scared the crap out of all of us.
All of us, yeah.
And yet wrote one of the most sensitive books.
Wrote Sounder. Yeah. He was. I recently went online and looked for some of his old books that I hadn't read because I felt like there was some. What is that? Through Troubled Waters, the book that he wrote about his wife's death.
I don't know. Oh, right. Yeah, right.
But yeah, he was a pretty amazing guy. there was got Tim Scott was the English teacher when I was there. He's probably came on later, but he was fantastic. Was Jay Coulter wouldn't have been there.
No. Yeah.
I'm trying to think who would have been. Was O.B. Davis there?
Yes, O.B. Davis.
Yeah. English department.
English, and sometimes did the plays.
Yep.
Directed the plays. Yeah.
Was Charles Gould there?
Don't know him.
No, probably not.
Yeah.
No. Yeah. O.B. Davis was he was one that sticks in my head. That's just a great teacher. I mean, it was a great bunch of teachers.
Pitt Armstrong was his nickname, Pitt.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah. And he, at age 13, the second formers had this how to study kind of class.
Yeah.
Which was invaluable. Unless you were me.
We had the same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. But he had this partition between his little office and the classroom it was a halfway partition, so that there was a door jamb that he could reach up. And when we came in day one, he was doing one-arm chin-ups.
Was he
one-arm chin-up, just looking at us, just staring at us. It's like, oh, fuck, we're in trouble.
It was kind of like the real life, John Wayne sort of like,
yes.
he was like, he just, I mean, well into his 80s, like was still probably unbelievably, like could probably beat any student there in an arm wrestling match. Yeah.
So just quickly, big lesson learned at age 13. We would take these little pop quizzes and you'd pass your paper back and forth to the person behind you so they would correct it and then read off your scores. They were quizzes, not exams or tests. Well, it was clear, and then you just throw them away. He wasn't interested in them.
Yeah.
So we thought, my friend and I, who was behind me, went, well, this is silly. We could just put anything and I'll scratch your back, you scratch mine. And so we would give ourselves each other good grades, earned or not. Mm. And then one day, we got cocky and tried to make the other person laugh. So the tyrant of Rhodes, was Pitt Armstrong.
Yeah.
Ha ha ha. Pass in your papers that day. And for the next 6 months, he would hand out, here's the test for everyone, and here's the test for Mr. Danson the cheater. I was Mr. Danson the cheater.
Wow.
For 6 months. It was like, okay, I learned a big lesson.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
That hurts. Coming from that voice.
Yeah. In the one-arm chin.
Did he do the thing where the whole point was to get us to remember who the famous Greek was, and now of course I can't remember, where he was talking about some famous naval battle, and he said, I still don't think you're gonna remember who this is or what his name is, so we'll have him taking a piss off the side of the boat. and he just draws the guy taking a leak, and it's like, I remember that. I just can't remember what the hell the guy's name was.
That's so funny.
But yeah, he was a pretty amazing guy.
It was pretty much my formal education.
Yeah.
Kent.
Yeah.
Because then I went to Stanford and learned nothing because I chose to, not because of the school, but I found acting and off I went. So, yeah.
Were you an actor at Kent? Like, were you?
After basketball season was over, our final year, my friend and I went, we'll try out for a play. And we got into Martin Duberman's In White America.
Oh, really?
And my friend is Black, and we both kind of went, it's not basketball, but it's okay.
Yeah.
That's kind of how I held acting. It's not basketball, but it's okay.
Iffy on it, and then you later found your passion for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so off you go. Where'd you go? RISD.
I went to RISD, yeah, which was also a fantastic place that's just...
All right, but sorry, I'm trying to put the pieces together. And I'm interrupting you like crazy.
Oh, no, it's all good.
I haven't done this for a while. You have music beginning because...
This is already more coherent than any podcast I've ever listened to, so you're good.
It'll go downhill in a minute. So you have music, you have drawing characters and being funny. You haven't done stand-up yet. So you're really music and drawing.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's your creative output at the moment.
Yeah. I had done as much theater as I could when I was at Kent. So I had a little bit of that. I tried everything to not play a sport if I could avoid it.
Yeah.
But yeah, when I got to
choir.
And choir, yeah, and singing. But yeah, RISD was where, my first love was animation, was visual art. And so I applied to RISD, got in, and that was where I really started figuring out what the hell my voice was. I did start doing stand-up when I was in college, and local stuff. And
in Providence.
In Providence, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Which has got to be a tough gig.
I remember it being okay. It was
really?
It was like, because I was from New England, and so there was sort of a shorthand that was like, you're kind of talking to it's such a small part of the country that you're talking to people who all have grown up with the same sort of frame of references that you have.
Very working.
Yeah.
Very bright, very working class.
Yeah.
Tough.
Yeah, it's a weird dichotomy, because you have like the educated sort of professorial intellectuals, and then you have you can't park your car over there. Yeah. You have those guys, and it's like, and I was kind of dialed into both those worlds when I was there. Yeah. So it was but it was a great place to kind of find your voice. Great school. I mean, just phenomenal school.
How did you know that very first time, there's an open mic, or there's something, or I saw somebody and, I got to do that? What was that? Because that's a big transition from drawing, being funny, and standing up.
Yeah. I mean, the theater that I had done in school, and kind of the hunger that I had for that at the time, helped to kind of grease the wheels. So it wasn't like I was unfamiliar with being on a stage. I just hadn't tried anything that was so solo and exposed. But it's like you're in your 20s. It's like, who gives a shit? You don't care. It's like, what if I fail? I fail. Who cares?
Okay, see, that's different. I didn't have that. That's really very ballsy. That is, stand-up is ballsy.
Well, it's just like, the worst that happens is that you have a bad night and no one laughs, and you go home and people forget about it the next day. But But it's. I mean, nowadays I would be much more reluctant to. I think about it at times, like, cause it's, at this point, like, the expectations would probably be because of Family Guy, because of everything. People would be
people would be gunning.
Show us you're funny, asshole.
Yeah. So did you develop something that you can point to later in life? Go, I kind of got that from my stand-up at RISD.
No, I mean, there were a lot of impressions. It was a lot of, very kind of like diet rich little sort of routine that I did. But there are certainly elements of, my college years were very, in different ways, influential in what became Family Guy. I mean, I discovered film musicals. I'd seen them when I was a kid. My parents had showed us all the
Oklahoma,
My Fair Lady, and Sound of Music. I didn't really care that much. And then I got into college, and I started to kind of pay attention to the music a little bit more, and realize, there's actually some great craftsmanship here. And just thought Rex Harrison was hilarious in My Fair Lady. Just like, this guy is just this comical person who by all accounts was very much, as he appeared on screen.
Right.
And that became Stewie. Stewie is essentially Rex Harrison as Henry Higgins. There were a group of security guards that I was friends with when I was at RISD, and they were all, full on, Rhode Island to the core. And Peter Griffin is very much derived from one of those guys. But that was, I think there was one year we made I got all the security guards together. We made a fake A-Team episode for film class. It was a fun place.
Wait, a fake A-Team?
Yeah. It was it's like starring RISD security.
Yeah.
And that was it was for some film project, and they were like, yeah, sure, yeah, why not? We'll do it. But it was just a place that was just kind of pumped gas in the creative tank in every way. And it I've heard that there are certain schools that, at the time were teaching you how to, they're kind of training you for Warner Brothers or for Disney, or here's how to work in this style. So it's a pipeline to this particular company. Right. And RISD was very much like, here's everything you might need to know, because we have no idea what you're going to want to do with your life, and you have no idea what you're going to want to do with your life. In a lot of cases. And so they just kind of kept it very open-ended. And if you were kind of leaning in a certain direction, it was nurtured.
Right. So you graduate from RISD, and what happens?
And then, my senior year, I had applied to the Boston Conservatory of Music for musical theater.
I just love this about you. You interwove everything that you cared about creatively from a very early age. The person we are talking to right now, you were there.
Yeah.
30, 40 years, whatever it is ago.
Yeah. I mean, it's well, and the beautiful thing about animation is that it does encompass, I mean, something like Family Guy, you work with an orchestra every week.
Do you not? Does everybody do that?
The Simpsons does it. We do it on American Dad as well.
Yeah.
I mean, any show that I work on, the Orville, we used about a 80, 90 piece orchestra every week.
See, that's amazing.
But I think it's a important part of that used to be pretty standard on, maybe not that size, but every television show you used to watch.
Right.
I mean, the little play-ons from Cheers are like, those are acoustic, musicians. But, it's performance art, it's visual art, it's musical art, it's writing. I mean, it's so many disciplines in that one medium. But yeah, I had applied.
But I mean, what I'm saying is you're designing the perfect Seth to go off and be the creator of all these things you've created, to be the head of all these things you've created, because you have your fingers in everything.
It worked out that way. Yeah. I also didn't really know which way I wanted to go. My sister had gone to the Boston Conservatory of Music and for musical theater, and she spent 4 years there, and she had a beautiful singing voice. And I applied to their grad program, got in, and before I could go, my student film, which was a really rough version of what would become Family Guy, had fallen into the hands of Hanna-Barbera, which was, at the time still, at the tail end of their existence. Right. Now they've kind of, they're kind of gone. They've been folded into Cartoon Network.
And they're here in LA.
Yeah.
Or they were.
Yeah. At the time, they were still working under that banner. And and they were legendaries. The Flintstones, it's Scooby-Doo, it's the Jetsons. And they had gotten a hold of my student film, and RISD had entered it in some competition that they were sponsoring. And I won something called the Freddie Award, which is like, it's like a bunch of rocks with Fred Flintstone sitting on the top and your name on a little plaque. And that was my introduction to Hanna-Barbera. And so before I graduated RISD, I got a call saying, listen, would you want to come out and do a cartoon short for us based on your student film? And I said, yeah, absolutely. And there's a little bit of a shit. Do I ditch the grad program at Boston Conservatory? And the opportunity was just too good to pass up. So I took the California job. Came out here, had no idea. I was, stayed at like the Beverly Garland Holiday Inn
for
like.
Paid? Do you remember?
I think initially it was like, this was like in the 1990s. It was like $600 a week.
Oh, wow.
I think that was like,
good.
At the time, that was,
that's pretty good.
Just coming out of college, that was great. Yeah. But I learned the Hollywood style of animation through, one of the best studios, through the people that invented it.
Wait, how? Because you've been hired to, did you start working with other people, there was
creators? A program called What a Cartoon that was created by Fred Seibert, who has since gone on to be a pretty major force in the animation world.
Right.
And the idea was basically to give green animators with no credits a shot at making their own 7-minute pilot, with an eye towards putting control of animation back into the hands of the artists and taking it away from the writers, which, I think there's a place for both that when it gels is the best case scenario. But they were very kind of like, look, the writers have taken over for years. Let's give things back to the artists. And so I did this short called Larry and Steve that was based literally on my student film. And when that was done, they put me on a show called Johnny Bravo, which was a show that was on the air at the time, and Dexter's Lab, and all these shows that the millennials and Gen Z will, I'm shocked at how much they remember. So I worked there for 3 years, and there was a fellow named Adam Shapiro who took over development at Hanna-Barbera and wanted to get them back into the prime time business, and said, listen, your film is sort of the closest, your short is sort of the closest thing
to Larry and Steve.
Yeah, that might be of interest to these people. So he took me to the Fox lot at this, at the time I'm like 22, 23. Introduced me to these executives, and I had no clue really. I was learning it all as I was going, and they said, we like this short that you did. Would you want to do a pilot for us? You're an animator. And I said, yeah, sure. And generally a pilot gets a pilot budget of, even back then, 500, 700 grand.
Right.
They gave me like 40 grand, like spend it however you want. So I spent about 6 months in my apartment animating this pilot, the Family Guy pilot.
Right.
And all the money went to having the drawings filmed and colored at a local production house. And by the time it was over,
but each frame you drew.
Yeah. Now keep in mind, this was like very like, the Flintstones was the model. So it's like you have heads that are nodding and mouths that are moving.
Right.
There are economical ways to make sure that you're not doing full on Don Bluth.
Right.
But at the end of that 6 months, I submitted the pilot. And by that time I was 24, and they said, yeah, we want to buy this. Animation was really hot at the time. The Simpsons was at its peak. King of the Hill was a big hit. It was like more and more and more animation. And so they picked up my show. And so at 24, I was kind of thrust into this world of it was a writer's room that I was partially in charge of, and I had to kind of learn on the fly.
So one more process question, because it fascinates me. Your writer's room is a bunch of writers.
Yeah.
And then, so what started first for you when you did your pilot? Did you do the drawings first and then figure out, or did you script it with dialogue and then draw around that?
Yeah, I had a script that, with animation, it's analogous to like a live action sitcom, where it's like they're just steps that are similar, but because it's a different medium, they're different. You write the script, you do a storyboard, which is effectively blocking.
Right.
You then do the animation.
And everything's not really refined. You're just sketching it out. Almost.
With animation, generally, it's you sketch it out with a blue pencil, and then you kind of clean it up. You ink it, or you use a pencil line, or whatever your style is, and then it gets filmed. But you're animating to the voice.
The voice,
yeah.
Because if an actor comes in and does something, you go, oh wait, shit, I
you
gotta do that.
There's a scene in Mrs. Doubtfire where Robin Williams, obviously plays a voice actor, and he goes into the studio and he's speaking to completed animation on the screen, and everything's magically syncing up. And of course, that's not how it works at all. It's like you have to let the actor do their thing, and then you animate to their performance. So that always works in that order.
So there you are, a writer's room of how many people?
At the time, there were about probably 15 people, maybe.
Were you assigned them, or did you find them?
No, I was. I had chosen. They had me meet with a few seasoned showrunners. I picked David Zuckerman, who had worked on King of the Hill, who had animation experience, and so he helped me kind of develop the show into something that was going to be sustainable week after week.
Right.
And so he was kind of the adult in the room, and I was there and it was an interesting process at the beginning. Like we are friends to this day, but we did have our, he was working with like a young 24-year-old guy who was, had no experience and a whole lot of ideas, and it was his job to kind of corral it. But we made something that endured really, for 25 years. But it was an experience. Like, to be in that room, everyone in that room was more experienced than I was. I really shouldn't have been where I was for another 10 years when I arrived in that writer's room.
Right.
Running a room at 24 was just, I just had to learn on the fly.
Right.
And, that'll sink a lot of people. And that's where I credit my parents. It's like they put enough of the, stick up for what you want, but don't be an asshole. Like
Right.
find that Goldilocks zone. And so they did their jobs well. And that kind of got me through that period more than anything else. But, and then the show, I do remember actually, I think it was like day 3, we were in the writer's room, and like one of the first things we did was go on strike because animation at that time was not included in, it wasn't a WGA
Right.
covered medium. And so you didn't have any of those benefits. And King of the Hill and The Simpsons and the shows that were on the air were like, hey, we're done with this. We want the
bringing
same
in a lot of money.
Yeah,
we deserve
exactly.
the same rights. Yeah.
So they said, do you want to stand with us? And so we got to like 3 days later, we were like, sure. Yeah. So
for how long?
It lasted 24 hours.
Oh, good.
That was
good.
That was how much the studios knew. Like, well, we were waiting for you guys to bring it up. We weren't going to bring it up, but yeah, of course you should be killed.
One last thing on this, the process, I mean.
Yeah.
So you sit down and you start the writing room and you start writing your first episode. When is it on the air and I get to watch it? How much long?
About 10 months.
That's amazing.
10 months per episode. Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And how long before after you write the script, do you start getting roughs of the animation itself so this is working? Probably
a couple months. I mean, it's been a minute for me. I mean, I ran that show for 10 years and it's now been a while, but as I recall, it's you finish the script, you do your record, and then maybe about a few weeks later, maybe 3 weeks later, you start seeing storyboards.
Yeah.
And then you see an animatic maybe a month and a half into the process, and then full animation you don't see for a while because that goes over to Korea, and then it comes back, and that's like months and months later.
And then you did a whole mess of stuff, and then American Dad.
Yeah. Yeah, American Dad, Family Guy got canceled because nobody was watching.
I don't remember that.
Yeah, that was in about 2002, 2001, 2002.
After how many episodes?
After 2 seasons.
Oh, so it came back, obviously.
Yeah, after 2 seasons. And I think it was 2 seasons. And because that 3rd season, I believe, no, it was 3 seasons. Sorry, it was 3 seasons. Jesus Christ. So we got canceled after 3 seasons, and because no one was watching, I was still under a deal with 20th, and so we created American Dad, which was sort of it was more political show, but it was very much in line with Family Guy. And then Family Guy got picked up again because the DVD sales were doing well. That's how long ago that was, that DVD sales can bring back a fallen show. Syndication, DVD sales were doing great. So Family Guy gets picked up again. I didn't intend to have 2 shows. I didn't want to have 2 shows. I wanted to focus on one thing. This Family Guy was still very new. But I now had 2 shows by accident. And I made the decision to focus on keeping Family Guy running at that point. And we'd had this brush with death. And American Dad, I essentially turned over to my co-showrunners, Mike Barker and Matt Weitzman. And it was a good move because you had 2 shows that didn't feel like, one felt maybe more like me and the other one felt like something different. And that was a good lesson in the value of delegation at a young age. And that's kind of how I operate now. I'm either kind of fully invested in something 24/7, or I'm delegating it completely. And whoever the showrunner is, their voice is very much the voice of that show.
When did Ted come along?
Ted came along about 2010, 2009, 2010. First pitched that. And it was roundly rejected by most of the studios that saw it. It was just too expensive. An R-rated comedy starring a teddy bear that talked was not, really on anybody's most wanted list. And I think at one point they asked us to do it. Can you do it with a hand puppet? It'll be a lot cheaper. And then Universal said, yeah, okay, we'll roll the dice on this. And Mark Wahlberg and the rest is sort of history there. Yeah.
That's when I slowly start to enter.
That's right.
The periphery of your life.
Yeah. You were in Ted.
Yeah. It brought me great joy. It was Ted Danson on cocaine.
That's right.
Being bitter or something reminiscing of.
It was like they bought the Cheers DVD and it was like the interview with you.
Right.
And I think you even improv'd a line that we ended up using in the film.
Oh, it brought me great joy too.
Woody Harrelson, smallest dick in show business.
Right. It was my getting back at him for innumerable things he did to me.
Listen, we were happy to help.
But that was huge, became a huge hit.
Yeah.
And that gave you kind of, I'm assuming, license to pretty much start making whatever film you felt.
At the time, yeah. Yeah, at the time. That was, no one would have greenlit a comedy Western from anybody, really. I think if it weren't at that time, if it weren't for Ted, but
wrote, directed, and acted.
Yeah.
How did you like that actor directed part?
It was again completely new. It scared the shit out of me. I got to say, this is where I got to give thanks to Albert Brooks, because I was a huge fan of his. It remained a huge fan. His Defending Your Life remains just
the best.
One of the greatest movies ever made to me. And I just called him and said, listen, I haven't done this before. You've done it.
Out of the blue, or did you have a relationship?
Out of the blue. No, I reached out to somebody who connected me with him, and I can't remember. Might have been my agent. But called him and said, can I just pick your brain about this stuff? And he was so kind and so cool. And he said, not only can you, he said, you call me as often as you want. And so I called him probably once a week while I was working on that movie. And every time he picked up the call and he answered all my questions and was just so generous with his time. And I will never forget to this day, because it really did make a big difference. Because I was learning as I went, and to talk to someone who's done it really as well as anyone in show business ever has.
I love hearing this story because I have so much respect for him.
Yeah.
But I didn't know the mentor part.
Just like
pre-production and shooting?
A stand-up guy to end all stand-up guys. Pre-production and shooting, yeah.
Wow.
Literally right down to questions like, how many of your dailies do you watch? Like, it's piles of dailies. And it's like, you got to watch all your dailies. Watch all your dailies. How do you, at what point do you go and you look at playback? At what point do, when you're directing, how do you separate your directing brain from your...
Who watches me while who's looking through the lens, in essence, while I'm acting?
Exactly, yeah.
Who did?
Yeah,
Did you have
I
someone?
hired an acting coach to kind of be my conscience. This guy, Aaron McPherson, who was wonderful. And I he's been doing it for me in every project that I've acted in since.
To see whether or not, wait a minute, you did it, you hit your marks, but you weren't really present.
Exactly.
Do it again.
Exactly. You were cheating. Yeah. And that's kind of, it's invaluable and it's essential because it really is. Unless you're someone who has been acting, for so long that it's just second nature.
I will still say that I claim it's about 50-50 whether you truly show up in the moment. And film is literally about, I'm giving you the impression of what I did last night, or I'm trying to repeat what I did today. As
the
opposed
audience
to
doesn't care how you get there, though, right?
No, but you are truly either there in that moment, surprising yourself and the person you're with, or you're not.
How much of it do you find is, like, how often is it like I nailed exactly what I prepared for, and how much of it is that was an accident and that's the best thing I've ever done? Because for me, it's most of the time it's an accident.
Well, that's wonderful because
well, it's not, because it means it's like wrangling a horse that
I just find that
drunk.
if you do everything right, all the preparation and all that stuff, it's still for me 50-50 whether I truly am like, I have no idea what's happening next, and isn't this astounding?
Yeah.
Kind of thing, that downhill skiing kind of thing with acting where you just
But can you
leaning over.
access I've talked to actors who, and this sounds so fundamental and probably just the most basic way to ask the question, but I've talked to actors who are like, yeah, no, I'm drawing from something in my own life, or no, I'm really believing what's on the page. Is it kind of 50-50 for you, or do you have like...
I hope to get closer and closer to it's on the page.
Yeah.
And that this is not so you're drawing on something from your life.
Yeah.
But you're putting yourself so fully into the imaginary circumstances that you can just use that. And I still find it fascinating. I love acting so much. It's so cool.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, you never stop either. Like, I mean, you're
well, you should talk, but
but it's like you always, there's a show, there's a film, like you're always,
yeah. I do love driving through a
a
studio gate. I do love crews. Yeah. I love writers, directors.
There's always plenty of Ted Danson for America.
Or a smidge too much.
No.
Well, no.
No. People like it.
Yeah.
People like it.
It's taken you about 45 minutes to compliment me like that. So you're a little slow according to my timetable. I want to rush through some stuff because I have other kinds of questions I'd love to talk about.
You have other clients, I get it, yeah.
But let me, all right, no, we're going to go there. So Ted, but then that was just a fun moment that I didn't see you again for a while. And then I think it was Family Guy. For some reason, somebody reached out to see if I would do something. I think this was the order of things. And I said, yes, but can you just do me a favor and pay whatever you're going to pay me and give it to Oceana, which is something that I care about and I do when I'm not acting.
Yep.
And you said I won't get into numbers, but you said instead, how about instead of that, I multiply it by this amazing number that you did and give it directly to Oceana. You proceeded to do that.
Oh, that was Orville. That was for the Orville, I think. Yeah.
Was it Orville?
Yeah, I think it was Orville, yeah.
Okay. One of your many projects. And it was almost 10 years ago or something like that.
Yeah.
And you'll have to tell me and we can edit this because I don't want to, put a target on your philanthropic back.
No, that's such a great organization.
It is, but your generosity is beyond belief because you've been doing that for the last 10 years, and which means a huge amount to me. Because raising money for something you care about that makes a difference in the world and changes things dramatically, and then somebody like you comes along and is that generous, it is. You're changing people's lives. You are.
Well, what's funny, like I was introduced to Oceana. I was on a date years ago, and she took me to the Oceana event. I had no idea what Oceana was.
Right.
And it was this incredible event that was just, really educational and in so many ways. And so luckily when when I found out you were involved, I was like, oh yeah, that's a phenomenal organization. I mean, phenomenal. And I mean, that's win-win.
It's the reason why you can ask me to do anywhere and I will go anywhere and you don't have to send me a script. I would just want to come play with you because of who you are and how your generosity makes a difference out there in the world. And I know you do this in many other areas and not just the environment, but I have huge respect for you.
Well, that's the one that, I mean, I know you feel the same way. It's like, that's the one that you just can't afford to screw up. I mean, you can recover from a lot of screw ups, but if you screw up the environment beyond a certain point, you're really in trouble.
And it's a game changer for literally everybody on the planet. And if you think you're wealthy enough to dodge that bullet, you're certainly wrong.
Fooling yourself.
Or powerful enough to dodge the bullet.
Yep.
You're wrong.
You're kidding yourself.
Yeah, it's true. Can I just ask a bunch of, who the fuck are you random questions?
Sure.
What is if you had to go, this is kind of my North Star, or this is my mentor, if it's somebody, or this is somebody or some thought that keeps me on purpose, knowing that, just that.
Yeah. I mean, look, it sounds so cliche, but like, if any decision that you make, is this something my parents would approve of? It's kind of,
both your mom and dad come to mind when you say that?
Yeah. I mean, they were ex-hippies. They were very altruistic. They were very much, very, very socially conscious. And so that still remains sort of a lingering part of my conscience that's very much active. That is this something? But as far as, people who, certainly my father aside, I'll still call my father with to get his take on certain things. But, Ann Druyan, who was married to Carl Sagan before he passed away and who wrote Cosmos for us, is very much a mentor, is very much somebody who...
Why? What do you get from that relationship? I don't mean get, but draw from.
I mean, it's, there are very few people you can say, this person is a legitimate genius, like a legitimate genius, like whatever her, and I mean intellectually, and I mean culturally and socially, in every sense, this is somebody who sees the world in a way that is pretty extraordinary. And so she's become somebody who I see as kind of a North Star, as you call it, somebody who I can call and even with the most fundamental career question, hey, should I do this or this, or is this, what's your take on this? And you're always going to get something that's both incredibly astute and incredibly humble. And she remains a model of the kind of person. I mean, I will never be as smart as she is, but remains a model of the kind of person that I would like to look in the mirror and see.
Is there a rhyme or reason behind? I'm sure there is. So behind your philanthropy,
there are things that are fundamental. Things like Rainforest Trust and things like Oceana that are just kind of no-brainers. It's like, well, we can't survive without the ocean. We can't survive without the rainforest. Like, we're going to be in trouble if we trash either one of those two things. And so that's just, those are kind of no-brainers. And then when you get into the cultural stuff, when you're funding music, you're funding the arts, you're funding medical research, it's then, it's discussions with my team, the people that I work with, it's discussions with
your team. What does that mean?
My manager, who I've become very good friends with, and with doctors that I know who are involved with various types of, say cancer research, and my doctor will say, like, yeah, there's a friend of mine, runs a lab at USC that's working on this and this and this, and they're looking for funding. And so it's just about having conversations and finding out what people are working on and what sounds interesting and who needs what, and everything is a crapshoot. When it comes to things like medical philanthropy, I sort of go into it thinking, like, this is money I'm never expecting to, I'm throwing it into a potential void, because science is, you have to be willing to just experiment and throw things at the wall and see what works. But still never a bad investment. It's like, if you've moved the needle in some way, even microscopically, that maybe you're never even aware of, it's still worthwhile.
Yeah, that's kind of the definition of philanthropy, I think. Not knowing what the end result will be, so it's not this transactional thing. It's,
right.
Okay, so this part is, these are my questions for myself. You can either help me or express your own, and we can edit the shit out of this. So it's really up to you. Yeah. How's your heart nowadays? My heart is aching a little bit with the world, and especially here in LA. I have an ache that I haven't figured out. I know that, I'll just do my thing for 2 seconds. I know that fighting dark with dark does not work. I know that for me and my makeup, anger in my body, rage is not a good thing. And I couldn't live with it like that. but it's popping up
Yeah.
right now.
Yeah.
So I need to figure that out. And I need to know, is there a line in the sand that is for me that I will then have to go, well, sorry, all bets off. I now have to become, I don't know, Jane Fonda once more onto the ramparts,
Yeah.
kind
Yeah.
of thing. I don't know. So I would love to know if you want to talk, and if you don't, I totally get it.
I'm happy to talk about anything. No,
How's your heart?
It's somebody online said, boy, I'm tired of living in interesting times.
That's great. I heard somebody else say, no, no, let my enemies live in interesting times.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a really good question. I mean, I went back and looked at old texts of, how I was feeling in the past few elections. And it's like every 4 years, it's like this is the only thing that kind of put me on a little bit of a rational track, is that they're always existential. Like
the threats we face.
The way that I'm talking about it, or the way that I talked about it in 2024 was the same way I talked about it in 2020 and 2016. Existential. And is this time different? I don't know. But I do know that my language didn't seem to change. And so that gave me a little bit of optimism that maybe
this isn't the first time.
This is just kind of the way people like us are. That like we give a shit. And we should give a shit. But it's also something that can get the best of us and can consume us. So it's like, what is that Goldilocks zone? What is that balance of caring enough to stay active and stay involved, but not letting it drive you to the point where it's
right.
just wrecking your life. And I get it, because I know exactly what you're feeling, and that's the struggle, is that you're how do you balance altruism and philanthropy and caring about the world that you live in, and caring about the world that is inherited by the people who come after you. That there's, who's that philosopher that says, if you heard that somebody 3,000 miles away in Europe, or if you heard that like a large group of people were gonna die and you could prevent it, would you? It's like, well, of course you would. Well, if you heard that people 3,000 years from now, as opposed to 3,000 miles away,
that's great,
were going to die and you could prevent it, would you? And the whole question is, why do we have this feeling of moral responsibility when it comes to distance, but not when it comes to time? And look, this is the kind of shit we fuck around with on the Orville, and why I love writing that show. But it's a great question. It's like,
yes,
what do we owe the future? And I think I would say we owe the future as much as we owe the present. My
father, who was a scientist, an archaeologist, the thought that came out of that for me as a kid was, a lot has come before you, and then hopefully a lot will come after you. And this time is not about you. It's about your stewardship of what you've been given, which is similar to what you're saying.
Yeah, you're linking a chain.
For some reason, because I've always let science lead the way. If I get into an argument about partisanship or politics, I get very emotional, lose my way, and that's not my happy place.
Yeah.
If I'm happy to go, and I have gone to Congress and testified about oil and offshore oil and the oceans and all of that. And I'm happy if a Republican throws a brick at me. I don't care, because my job is to say, hey, this is the science.
Yeah.
This is what we know. Do with it what you will, but there will be a consequence.
It's interesting because Republicans were once, I mean, you look at they were once champions of science.
Oh, totally. And my father was a Republican.
Yeah. I mean, it was something that they took pride in.
Yeah.
And I do think that if there can be a separation, but I mean, look, when things like climate change are lumped in with other issues, as if it's like, if it's a woke issue, that's where you kind of lose me. It's like, look, we all have our feelings about how to apply, how to tax the country, or how to structure healthcare and the public and private of it all, and how to allocate these funds or these funds, and reproductive care. What's what is ethical? And it's like all of these we all have our opinions and what we believe, but they are in many cases opinions. Like your opinion on how to best allocate healthcare may be different than mine. When it gets into things like science, that's where it's like, God, we should all be agreeing on this. This should be something like that we've all done as a society together, Republicans and Democrats, liberals. Like we have all reached this point where we can, you have a cell phone in your pocket that can give you, any information you ask for with the tap of a button, and there should be no reason for any of us to be abdicating that. So I think that's something that if and you do read about these conservative groups that are concerned about climate change, and you start to see kind of sparks of that. And I think it's a great place to start. It's a great place to begin, because it's not
partisan.
We can disagree about pronouns until the cows come home. But when you have something that is, you can start with something that's so irrefutable. I do think there's a conversation to be had if we can just dial down. If we can just dial down the red in our faces,
right? And I almost feel like I'm not going to talk about climate change anymore. I won't. Let's not talk about that. Let's you agree, don't agree, whatever. Beside the point. At this time, at this point in our lives, it's beside the point. Let's talk about how can I help you develop a system that saves lives in parts of the world and country that are flooding so badly. Because when people drag other people out of the water, odds are they'll be on different political sides of the fence, but they could give a shit because it's a human being reaching and saving another human being. So let's find out how we can help save human lives together, forest fires, drought. Let's do that. Let's talk about, because it's here. We don't have to talk about
There was,
why.
I tell you, even as a kid watching, and boy, they knew how to teach us this lesson in a way that we're not as good at nowadays. I remember watching He-Man when I came home from school in the afternoon. There was always the moment where like Skeletor's hanging off the cliff, and they've been battling, and it looks like Skeletor is going to die, and He-Man reaches down and pulls him up. At the end of the day, and Skeletor says, "You did not have to save me. Why did you say?" And that's always the kind of person you want to be.
Wrapping up this whole thing, first off, thank you so much. Thank you for all of the little interchanges and creative things we've gotten to do together, your generosity and all that. But thank you for being here today. Really have had fun talking to you. But just to end this, you in some quote or something, talk about optimistic and fun. Or maybe it was looking back at the things that you enjoy, but you use those two words, optimistic and fun. And that is putting that out into the world, which you do through your work and your music, is a contribution to this thing we're talking about, why our hearts ache at this point. Putting that out is, if that's all you did in life, you can't discount that as moving the needle in the right direction.
That's why I did the Orville, and that's why we still have yet to do a season 4. That's why I did that show, because when I was a kid, Hollywood was providing that voice in various forms. There was a lot of hope, and we're doing a really, some of the blame lies right here in this town. Like we are, the dishes that we are serving up are so dystopian and so pessimistic. And yeah, there's a lot to be pessimistic about, but it's so one-sided. There's nothing we're doing that's providing anyone an image of hope. Look, I love The Handmaid's Tale. It's a great fucking show. Beautifully written, beautifully directed. But there's a lot more of that than there is of, what we used to get from Captain Picard. It's like there's where is Hollywood's? They're certainly giving us a lot of cautionary tales, but where are the blueprints that they once gave us for how to do things correctly. It can't all be just, here's what's going to happen to you if you fuck up.
Yeah.
You do need, here's what you can achieve if you change your ways and do things right.
Look at the joy and happiness and laughter you can come get if you go this direction.
Exactly. Yeah. We're doing none of that. We're doing none of that. I see it every day. I drive down, like they're driving down Beverly Boulevard today and looking at the billboards of what's to come. And it's like, yep, dystopian, horror, negative, pessimistic. There's nothing that's giving anybody kind of, any, and now as an adult, it's like, all right, I can see past that. But when I was a kid, I had the opposite. I had a lot of templates and characters who were kind of the Gary Cooper and High Noon of when I grew up, who would do the right thing, I remember that movie, he would, he's on his honeymoon.
Yeah.
And he's pulling away and he's like, well, shit, I'm on my honeymoon and I got to turn around and fight this bad guy. But it's the right thing to do because I'm an altruistic guy and I just got to do what's right. And television and film were full of those kinds of people. And now it's all about ever since Tony Soprano, and again, great fucking show, but it's all about the anti-hero. It's all about the complicated, fucked up, drug-addled person who's like, isn't this person a mess? And, everyone on the White Lotus is brilliant, but no one is someone you'd want to be.
Yeah.
There's nobody who you'd look at and say, boy, I want to be like that guy. If the shit hit the fan, I'd want to do what Gary Cooper did. We don't do that anymore.
Yeah.
And I think if we did a little bit of that in this town, even just a little bit, that's the only thing really that Hollywood can do that's worthwhile. Because as we all learned from this election, nobody gives a fuck what celebrities think. Like we can tweet, we can talk, people don't care.
Nope.
They don't care. What we do well is tell stories. And we're not doing the best job right now of telling those stories in a way that gives people hope. And I think that's part of the problem. That may be like a way oversimplification of things, but I do think that it's incumbent upon us to take a good fucking hard look at that and see what we can do to change.
And let me say, while you have those thoughts, listen to The Lush Life, and I'm not just bringing this around in a circle. What a pleasure.
Always.
Yeah, thank you.
My pleasure.
Thank you so much. Yeah.